Welcome back to Another Thing. I'm Larry Menti. We continue our conversation now about water safety from Belmar, New Jersey, with Brian Wilton, who is the mayor of Lake Como, which is just nearby, which means he's also a member of the Belmar Water Safety Team. He's a former lifeguard who still participates in water rescues. Sir, thank you so much for doing this. You heard my conversation with the mayor of Belmar a moment ago and about drownings after hours, after the lifeguards get off the stands and go home. You and your team fill in that void.
Correct.
How do you do that?
We are an all-volunteer water rescue team comprised of local surfers, lifeguards, and fishermen who care about the area, care about the people who come to visit us. So we volunteer our time after hours, and we're dispatched via the 911 system along with the first aid and police department in the event of any water emergency in the area.
And I won't get into the details, but you were just called out the other night.
Correct.
And do they have these type of volunteers up and down the Jersey coastline?
Several of the towns, particularly in this area, have their own version of a water rescue team, due in no small part due to the after-hours rescues that take place in the summertime. I
would imagine you would recommend that all communities along the Jersey Shore do this. It does fill an important void.
It does. The fact of the matter is that people will come to swim when the lifeguards have gone home, no matter how much that we ask and advise them not to. It happens. So the water rescue teams fill an important void in an area that just can't be staffed 24/7.
I want to get specifically into what happened here in Belmar with the two little girls that died last week. They were fighting a rip current. It's something that swimmers in New Jersey face all of the time. What would you recommend to someone if they get caught in a rip current?
First of all, we always tell everyone, don't swim in an unguarded area. It's just the best way to avoid getting in trouble in the ocean. If, God forbid, you found yourself in a situation where you're in a rip current, it's most importantly that you don't panic. You don't want to succumb to that urge to try to swim against the current, because you're going to tire yourself out and you're getting in trouble quickly. The best thing to do is let the current take you, and if you're strong enough, you can swim parallel to the beach, because rip currents are not that wide, so you should be able to swim out of it. If you can't, don't worry. Let the current take you out and wait for help, and usually someone will be there to come and get you.
So from what you're saying, the worst thing you could possibly do is try to fight it.
Yeah, it's just
to swim into it. Because I think the first instinct that people have is, I'm going to try to swim to shore.
Your first instinct is to swim to shore, and unfortunately, you're just going to get tired out. Even some of the best lifeguards with fins on can't swim against a lot of these rip currents when they're at their strongest. So the best thing is, again, don't panic, let it take you, and wait for help.
When you were a lifeguard, was that one of your greatest fears, the days of the rip currents, and how did you handle that?
You just have to be vigilant. You would have to have multiple lifeguards on a stand. We get very busy here in Belmar, so we get more crowds than some of the other shore towns would. And when you have a rip current day, and it could be a beautiful day like today, and you could have really bad rip currents based on whatever's going on offshore. And it was a stressful situation, because you've got a lot of people in the water, and the average public does not even know what a rip current is, or even when they're in one.
Yeah, they just get caught in and they're not even sure what they're dealing with. So it's important that this information is out there. Was that your greatest concern when you were a lifeguard? Or that now that you're part of the water safety team?
It's always rip currents. Yeah, for the most part, we know when they're going to come. We know where they're going to pick up. If we have a storm offshore, if you have a beautiful day, or particularly a beautiful night like today when it's hot, when we know people are going to swim no matter what, rip currents are going to be our biggest concern.
I would imagine that we had a 12 and a 13-year-old. We also have children that die at the Jersey Shore. And part of it, I would imagine, is education at home as well. To be able to say to children, look, unless we're there, please don't go in the water.
Yeah, again, they should never swim in an unsupervised, unguarded area. And quite frankly, I don't think children should be swimming even in a guarded area without parental supervision, because the parents can relay any information to the lifeguards if a child gets lost. God forbid one of them gets in trouble. The lifeguards or the water rescue team needs to know how many were there, how long have they been in the water, how long have they been missing. So that's the most important. We have to stress that. And we do actually have programs in the elementary school here, and most of the local residents are aware of the situation, and we try to spread the word. Sometimes you'll be down on the beach, you'll see a family swimming in an area that's not safe, and you'll just go up to them and let them know what's going on and suggest that they don't swim there. But unfortunately, not everyone listens.
It seems to me, in looking back at some of the drownings over the past decade, that with teenagers and children, many times it's the rip currents. With adults, many times it seems to be alcohol. that seems to be a problem when you're around the beach. You've had to deal with these.
Yeah, we have, in various forms, from troublesome beach patrons who are intoxicated to people who come to the beach intoxicated and try to swim in a rip current. We had a serious rescue at the end of last year where the water rescue team happened to be on the beach patrolling because we knew we had bad water, as we would call it, and a couple who had been drinking came up to the beach and went for a swim in really serious water conditions, and she came very close to being a fatality.
You heard my conversation with Mayor Doherty a moment ago when we talked about covering the beach more, covering the beach after Memorial Day up until a few weeks when there's normally a skeletal staff, and maybe covering the beach more after hours. I know your group covers the beach after the hours, but do the communities, the beach communities, have a responsibility now to fully staff more of the season in the light of this most recent tragedy and the one in Atlantic City?
I think you're going to see all the beach communities reevaluating the procedures and policies that they have in place for their staffing, and it usually comes up when you have drowning. Is there something more that we could have done, or is there something that we could have changed to prevent it? Unfortunately, I don't think you can think of every variable and address every variable to keep people safe in the ocean. I think accidents are going to happen no matter what, but I know that the towns and our team are always striving to do better, so I'm sure you will see an evaluation of policy. What changes come out of that, I can't say right now.
But you seem to think that the best prevention, I'm getting from when I'm talking to you, is education.
Education and stay out of the water. It may look inviting to you, but the trained professionals know that there's rip currents that the average person can't see, and there's just no way to keep them safe if you don't have if you have people swimming in that situation.
Mayor, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Mayor Brian Wilton from Lake Como. Another Thing continues right after this. Coming up next, Dawn talks to a woman who is pushing for legislation to have the Holocaust taught in schools. That's when Another Thing continues.